Daf Yomi, Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 19a, starting at the bottom of 18b. The Gemara relates an alternative homiletic interpretation of the verse discussed above. Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani says that Rabbi Yonatan says, "Happy is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked." Psalms 1, verse 1. And now we're on the top of 19a. Avraham Avinu שלא הלך בעצת אנשי דור הפלגה שהשויים היו שנאמר הווה נבנה לנו עיר ובדרך עצם לא עמד שלא עמד בעמיד הסדויים שחטאים היו שנאמר באנשי סדום רעים וחטאים לשם מאוד. It's referring to our forefather Abraham, who did not walk in the counsel of the members of the generation of the dispersion, who were wicked, as it is stated, that they said to each other, "Come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in heaven." Genesis 11:4, a project with a wicked aim. Nor stood in the way of sinners, Psalms 1:1. This too is referring to Abraham, who did not join in the stand of the residents of Sodom, who were sinners, as it is stated, "Now the men of Sodom are wicked and sinners against the Lord exceedingly." Genesis 13:13. שלא ישב במושב אנשי פלישתים מפני שליצונים היו שנאמר ויהי טוב ליבם כטוב ליבם ויאמרו כי יראו לשמשון ישחק לנו. Nor sat in the seat of the scornful. Psalms 1:1. This means that Abraham did not sit in the seat of the Philistines because they were scorners who engaged in jest and buffoonery. As it is stated with regard to the Philistines in a later period, and it came to pass when their hearts were merry that they said, "Call for Samson, that he may make us sport." Genesis 16:25. אשרי איש ירא את השם, אשרי איש ולא אשרי אישה. אמר רב עמרם אמר רב, אשרי מי שעושה תשובה כשהוא איש. רבי יהושע בן לוי אמר, אשרי מי שיסגבר יצחק איש. The Gemara cites an interpretation of a similar verse as "Happy than the man who fears the Lord and delights greatly in his mitzvot." Psalms 112. Verse 1. The Gemara asks, is that to say happy is the man, but not happy is the woman? Why is it necessary for the verse to emphasize that it is speaking of a man? Rav Amram says, the verse applies to both men and women, and is teaching happy is the one who repents when he is still a man, meaning before he becomes elderly and his strength dwindles. So I guess they're using man in a sort of a generic sense of human, or a young adult, or middle-aged at least, the most, but not elderly. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, happy is the one who triumphs over his inclination like a man, meaning with strength and vigor. במצוותיו חפץ מאוד, אמר רבי אלעזר במצוותיו ולמשך מצוותיו. היינו דתנן, הוא היה אומר, אל תהיו כבדים, המשמשים לזרעיו על מנת לקבל פרס, אלא היו כבודים, המשמשים לזרעיו שלא ימלץ לקבל פרס. The verse continues, he delights greatly in his mitzvot. Rabbi Elazar says, the person delights in his mitzvot themselves, and not in the reward for performing his mitzvot. And this is the same as we learned in the Mishnah, Avot 1:3. Antignos of Soko would say, do not be like the servants who serve the master on the condition of receiving a reward. Rather be like the servants who serve the master, not on the condition that they will receive a reward. Keep it. Excuse me. Rabbi, Amar Rabbi, Ein Adam Lomar Torah, Elo Miyokom Sheli Vaychafetz, Shenema, Ki Im Besoras Hashem Chetzu. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the verse that was discussed previously, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. Psalms 1, 2. Yehoshua says, a person can learn Torah only from a place in the Torah that his heart desires. As it is stated, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meaning his delight is in the part of the Torah that he wishes to study. Levi, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Yatzvi Kamen de Rabbi, Kabaski Sidra, Six Sidra, Levi Amar, Laito, in brackets, Lan Mishle, Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Amar, Laito Lan Tilim. Interesting, they say Tehillim, but they spell it Tilim, without a hey, Tilim. Taf Yud Lamed Yud Mem. Interesting. Kafayel Levi Barat Tilim. Kima Torah Kim says the Shem Chetzo Parish Alavi Bava. Ein Adam Lomar Torah Lomed Torah Ela Mimkom Sheli V'Chafetz. Amar Levi Rabbi Natan Lanu Mishus Lamod. The Gemara relates Levi and Rabbi Shimon, son of Yehoshua, were sitting before Rabbi, and they were learning the Torah portion. When they finished the book that they were learning, and were ready to begin a new subject, Levi said, "Let them bring us the book of Proverbs." And Rabbi Shimon, son of Yehoshua, said, "Let them bring us the book of Psalms." He compelled Levi to acquiesce, and they brought the book of Psalms. When they arrived here at the verse, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, Rabbi Yehoshua explained the verse and said, a person can learn Torah only from a place in the Torah that his heart desires. Levi said, my teacher, you have given us, meaning me, permission to rise and leave as I wish to study Proverbs and not Psalms. Okay. Amar Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama Kolo Yisuk B'Torah Hakadosh Baruch Hu Oseh Lo Chafetzav Shneimahu Ki Im B'Toras Hashem Chefetzo Amar Rav Le'olam Yilmad Al-Torah B'Makom Sheli B'Chafetz Shneimahu Ki Im B'Toras Hashem Chefetzo. Okay, the Gemara cites other interpretations of this verse. Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama says, with regard to anyone who engages in the study of Torah, the Holy One, blessed be He, fulfills his desires, as it is stated, but in the Torah of the Lord is his delight. Meaning, if one engages in the study of Torah of the Lord, he will have his desires met by the Lord. Rava says, in accordance with this statement, Rabbi Yehoshua, a person should always learn Torah from a place in the Torah that his heart desires, as is stated, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. ואומר רבי, מתחיל הנקרס על שמוי של הקדוש ברוך הוא ובסוף נקרס על שמוי שנאמר בתורת השם חפצו ובתורתו יגע יומם ולילה. The Rabbi also says, with regard to this verse, initially the Torah is called by the name of the Holy One, blessed be He, but ultimately it is called by the name of the one who studies it, as it is first stated, his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, and in the continuation of the verse it says, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. This teaches that through study one acquires ownership, as it were, of the Torah. לעולם ילמד התורה ואחר כך יגע שנאמר בתורת השם והדר בתורתו יגע. And Rava says, in reference to this verse, a person must always study Torah and gain a broad knowledge of it, and only then may he analyze and delve into it. As it is stated, his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meaning he studies the Torah on a basic level, and only afterward does the verse state, and in his Torah he meditates, he analyzes it. Amar Rabbi Oilam ligres inish, aval gav dimashakach, aval gav delo yada vaikomar shnemo, garsa nafshi letava, garsa ketiv, velo ketiv tachana. And Rava says with regard to Torah study, a person should always study and review, even though he may afterward forget, even though he does not understand what he's saying. As it is stated with regard to the study of Torah, my soul breaks for the longing that it has for your ordinances at all times. Psalms 119 verse 20 is written, breaks, and it is not written grinds, demonstrating that the soul is satisfied with breaking apart material on a basic level, even if it does not have the opportunity to grind and analyze it in greater depth. Rava raises a contradiction between two verses. It is written that the Torah calls to people upon the highest places of the city. Proverbs 9:3. Okay. Yeah. And it is written far more specifically on the seat in the high places of the city. Proverbs 9:14. He explains initially, one who studies Torah does not have a secure place to sit, and therefore he is located merely upon the highest places. But ultimately, as he advances in his learning, he is placed on a seat of honor. Ketiv v'rosh meromim, ketiv alei derech. Betchila b'rosh meromim, v'soev alei derech. The Gemara mentions a similar contradiction. It is written with regard to the Torah in the top of high places of Proverbs 8:2, and is written in the continuation of the verse that the Torah is by the path. This contradiction results as follows. Initially, a person studies Torah in a private location, in the top of high places, but ultimately he will spread his knowledge by the path in the public realm. Okay. Ula Rami. כתיב שתי מים מבורך וטיב נוזלים מתוך בערך בתחילה שתי מבורך ובסוף נוזלים לתוך בערך. Ula raises a contradiction with regard to the following verse. It is written, drink waters out of your own cistern, Proverbs 5:15, and it is written in the continuation of the verse, and running waters out of your own well. He explains, initially, one should drink waters out of your own cistern. Meaning, like the cistern that draws water into one location, learning all existing knowledge, and ultimately one can produce running waters out of your own well. Original thought and innovative insights in Torah. Amarav Sechora, Mavuna Mai Dichtiv, Hon Rievel Imad V'Koi Betzal. Yad Yahweh, Im Ose Adam Toraso Chavilos, Yismait V'Kovetz Yad Yahweh. The Gemara cites other statements relating to Torah study. Rava says that, Rav Sechora says that, Ravuna says, what is the meaning of that which is written? Wealth gotten through vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathers little by little shall increase. Proverbs 13:11. If a person turns his Torah into many bundles, chavilot, by studying large amounts in a short period of time, without reviewing, his Torah will diminish. But if he gathers his knowledge little by little, by studying slowly and reviewing, his knowledge shall increase. Rava says, Yadi Rabbanan Lahai Milta Gabriel Ilah. Rava said the sages know this, but nevertheless they transgress it, meaning they fail to heed his advice. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, I did this because I studied little by little, and regularly reviewed what I had learned, and my learning has in fact endured. Amar Shazedi, Shezvi, Mishmed, Alozo ben Zarah, my tichtiv lo yacharoch, Rabbi Tzeido, ולא יחיה ולא יאריך ימים. Sayad Ramai, Rav Shezvi, said in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, what is the meaning of that which is written? The slothful man will not roast his prey. Proverbs 12:27. The deceitful hunter, one who tricks people into believing that he has acquired vast stores of knowledge by studying new material without reviewing that which he has already learned, will not live a long life. According to this tradition, Yaroch is a combination of the words Yechia and Yarich. Rav Sheshes Amar, Sayad Arabayachoch, Yasadim Yamar Mashal Adam, Shetzad Tzibrin, Im Mishad Beret Yafeav, Sherishona, Kulam, Mikayamot, Biadon. Yulav Ein Mikayamot, Biadon. Rav Sheshet says that the verse means the opposite. The cunning hunter will roast his prey to prevent it from escaping, meaning he reads the verse as a rhetorical question. Will not the hunter roast? When Radimi came to Israel, to Babylonian, he said, this is comparable to a person who is hunting birds. If he breaks the wings of the first bird so that it will be unable to fly off, and he proceeds in this manner, all of his prey will remain in his possession. But if not, they will not remain in his possession, as each bird will fly off when the next is captured. In a similar fashion, the clever student reviews that which he learns to ensure that he retains his knowledge. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the first verses of Psalms. Indeed, should be like a tree planted by streams of water. Psalms 1:3. The student of the school of Yanai say the verse states that a Torah scholar is comparable to a tree that has been uprooted from its original location and replanted somewhere else. It does not say that he is comparable to a tree that is planted and remains in one place. This is teaching that anyone who learns Torah from one teacher alone never sees a sign of blessing, as it is necessary to acquire knowledge from many teachers. Chani Mili Sapora, Amagamara Mirav Echad, and Adif Kihechi. Rav Chisda said to sages who were studying with him, I wish to say something to you, but I am afraid that then you will leave me and go. What did he wish to tell him? He wanted to say that anyone who learns Torah from one teacher alone never sees a sign of blessing. When the students heard this, they did in fact leave him and went from Rava. Rav Chisda said to them that matter applies only with regard to reasoning, meaning in order to come up with a sophisticated reasoning, it is necessary to bear many opinions, but with regard to the oral tradition itself, it is preferable to learn from one teacher. So that, and we're turning to Yud Testament base, and we'll pick it up also after the break. Where were we? Let's see. I think we were by the 19b, but let's go back to where I think we were. Rav Shezvi. Yeah, I remember that. Let's see. So I lost the place because I took a break, and I'm not sure where I left off. So I probably did this already, but I just want to make sure. So I'm going to go from it's Amud Aleph for the Amarava, Amarav Sakora, Amarav Huna. So from there. So Amarav Amarav Sakora, Amarav Huna. My Dixiv Hon Bevel Yamatiko, it's all Yad Yarbe Im Os Adam Torah Chavilos Chavilos. Mismai Imkovis Yad Al Yad Yarbe. Gemara cites other statements relating to Torah study. Rava says that Rav Sakora says, Rav Huna says that what is the meaning of that which is written? Wealth gotten through vanity shall be diminished. He that gathers little by little shall increase. Proverbs 13:11. If a person turns his Torah into many bundles by studying large amounts in a short period of time, without reviewing, his Torah will diminish. But if he gathers his knowledge little by little by studying slowly and reviewing, his knowledge shall increase. I think I remember that. So anyway, Amarava Yadi Rabbanan V'Ham Yosa V'Avriyallah Amrav Nachbar Yitzchak Aina Avid Tzav Akam Yadi. Rava said, the sages know this, but nevertheless they transgress it. Meaning, they fail to heed this advice. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, I did this. As I studied little by little and regularly reviewed what I had learned, and my learning has in fact endured. Amar Rav Shezvi Mishmei Rav Elaz ben Zalio My Dichsiv Lo Yachlam Yov Yitzedoi Lo Yichye V'Lo Yarich Yamim Zayadei Haramai. Rav Shezvi said in the name of Elaz ben Zarah, what is the meaning of that which is written? The slothful man will not roast his prey. Proverbs 12:27. The deceitful hunter who tricks people into believing that he has acquired vast stores of knowledge by studying new material without reviewing that which he has already learned will not live a long life. According to this interpretation, Yaroch is a combination of the words Yichya and Yarich. Okay. Avsheshes Amar Tzayad Haramayarok Yasardim Yamar Mashal Adam Shetzad Tziprin Im Mishaber Kenafia Sholishoina Kulam Miskaima is Yadoi Yulad Aim Miskaima is Yad. Avsheshes says that the verse means the opposite. The cunning hunter will roast his prey to prevent it from escaping. When he reads the verse as a rhetorical question, will not the hunter roast? When the Rav Yomi came from Eretz Israel to Babylonia, he said this is comparable to a person who is hunting birds. If he breaks the wings of the first bird so that it will be unable to fly off, and he proceeds in this manner, all his prey will remain in his possession. But if not, they will not remain in his possession. Each bird will fly off when the next is captured. In a similar fashion, a clever student reviews that which he learns to ensure that he retains his knowledge. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the first verses of Psalms, and you shall be like a tree planted by streams of water. Psalms 1:3. The student of the school of Rabbi Yannai say, the verse states that a Torah scholar is comparable to a tree that has been uprooted from its original location and replanted somewhere else. It does not say that he is comparable to a tree that is planted and remains in one place. This is teaching that anyone who learns Torah for one teacher alone never receives a sign of blessing, as it is necessary to acquire knowledge from many teachers. Amar lahu Rav Chiza Rabbanon Ve'eradei Malachu Milsa Umistafena Deshavkitu Li Ve'azelitu Kol HaLomed Torah Berav Echad Eno Rasim Bracha L'Olam Shavkoa Ve'azul Kamed Rave Amar lahu Hani Mili Svarim Ela Merav Echad Div Hachi. Rav Chiza said to the sages who were studying with him, I wish to say something to you, but I'm afraid that then you will leave me and go. What did he tell them? He wanted to say that anyone who learns Torah for one teacher alone never receives a sign of blessing. When the students heard this, they did in fact leave him and went to learn from Rava. Rav Chiza said to them that matter only applies with regard to reasoning. In order to come up with sophisticated reasoning, it is necessary to hear many different opinions, but with regard to oral tradition itself, it is preferable to learn from one teacher. Wasn't Rav Chiza the father-in-law of Rava? So why wouldn't Rava just tell him to go back? I'm not sure. Maybe he did. Who knows? Now we turn to 19b. Yetesam Beis. The Lo Pilag Lashani Al Palgimayim Amar Vital Chum Barchani Lai The Oilam Yishalesh Adam Shinoisav Shlish B'Mikla Shlish B'Mishnah Shlish B'Talmud. Alright, so he will not become confused by different versions of the same statement he hears from each teacher, as he will have no clear authoritative version from one source. The Gemara continues discussing the verse above by streams Palgi Psalms 1:3. Rabbi Tanachum Bar Chanilai says, since the root Pe Lamed Gimel can also Peleg can also refer to dividing, the verse is interpreted as follows: a person should always divide his years into thirds, as follows: 1/3 for Bible, 1/3 for Mishnah, and 1/3 for Talmud. Okay? The Gemara asks, how can one divide his life that way? Does a person know the length of his life, that he can calculate how much a third will be? The Gemara answers, when we said that one should divide his time into thirds, the intention was with regard to his days. He should vote 1/3 of each day to Bible, Mishnah, and Talmud, respectively. Asher prioritem vito, Asher Rava im prioritem vito, Alem lo yibol, Im lav al halamed alem kasev omer, Lochin al shoim ki im begomer. The Gemara discusses the continuation of the verse cited above, that brings forth its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Psalms 1:3. Rava says, if one brings forth fruit in its season, meaning if he acts in accordance with the precepts of Torah that he learns, then his leaf will not wither, as the Torah will sustain him. But if one does not learn with the intention that his studies should lead to action, then with regard to both the one who is taught, with regard to the one who teaches, the verse states about him, not so the wicked, but they are like the chaff that the wind drives away. Psalms 1:4. Amar Rav Amar Chuna Amar Rav Mai Dichsiv Yirab Chalam Hipila Ze Talmud Shelo Higia Nohiro Umoire Atzumim Kol Harugea Ze Talmud Shigia Nohiro Ve'ein Umoire. Rabbi Abba says that Rav Huna says that Rav says, what is the meaning of that which is written? For she has cast down many wounded and mighty and a mighty host are all her slain. Proverbs 7:26. This is referring to a student who has not yet reached the level where he can render legal decisions, but nevertheless, he already issues decisions. He is like a fetus that emerged from the womb before its time, and as the word hipila also means to miscarry, and a mighty host are all her slain. This is referring to a student who has reached the level where he can render legal decisions, referred to here as a mighty host, but he does not issue decisions. By refraining from teaching what he knows, prevents the masses from learning Torah properly. Yad kama adaroin shnin v'harav oiri hasam b'shavim. And until when is a scholar considered too immature to render legal decisions, he is rendered immature until the age of 40 years. The Gemara asks, but didn't Rava issue legal decisions before that? The answer is, there it is permitted, as in Rava's case, they're equal. Meaning, if one's achieved level of knowledge is equivalent to that of the foremost scholar, the city is permitted to render decisions even before reaching the age of 40. Amarav Acha bar Adam, Amarav Amrila, Amarav Acha bar Abba, Amarav Hamnuna, Amarav Afilu Sichas Chulin, Shel Talmid Chachamim, Tzricha Talmud Shenemar V'Alehu Lo Yibol. The Gemara cites another discussion with regard to the aforementioned verse, and whose leaf does not wither, Psalms 1-3. Rav Acha bar Ada says that Rav says. Some say that it was Rav Acha bar Abba who says that Rav Hamnuna says that Rav says one should know that even the ordinary conversation of Torah scholars require analysis, as it is stated, and whose leaf does not wither. This teaches that even the ordinary conversation of a Torah scholar, which is comparable to the leaves of a tree, has great significance, like the actual fruit of the tree. Amar Yehoshua ben Levi, davar ze kasuv b'Torah v'shanui b'nevim or shlosh b'ksuvim. Kol asik b'Torah nechasav b'tzlichin lo kasuv b'Torah nechsiv ushmartem es divrei habris hazos v'asisem osam l'ma'an taskilu es kol asher ta'asun. The verse continues, in whatsoever he does, he shall prosper. Yehoshua ben Levi says, this matter is written in the Torah, repeated in the prophets, and stated a third time in the writings concerning anyone who engages in Torah study. His property dealings will be successful. It is written in the Torah as is written. Observe, therefore, the words of this covenant and do them, that you may make all that you do to prosper. Deuteronomy 29:8. Shinu b'Nevim tichsiv lo yamush Sofer Torah zeh yipicha b'yisa v'yom v'layla l'ma'an tishmor la'asos kol ha'kasuv bo ki az tatzliach es darkecha v'az taskil meshum meshulash b'ksuvim tichsiv ki mesoras Hashem chavtzav mesoras yege Yom v'layla v'yakeh shasul p'algimayim asher piryo yitin b'ito v'alehu lo yibol v'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. Is repeated in the prophets, as is written in this book. The Torah shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it, for then you shall make your ways prosperous, and then you shall have good success. Joshua 1:8. It is stated a third time in the writings, as is written, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, and his Torah he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, that brings forth its fruit in its due season, whose leaf does not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. Psalms 1, 2 and 3. Machmas Zandri Man Boichai Kinuf, or in brackets Kinuf. Kinuf is called Kuliam Legabe Amri Le Havlan Chaye Amlahu Mi Haish Chavas Chaim Vigomer Letzor Leshoncha Mera. The Gemara relates where Alexandria would proclaim in public in the manner of the merchants selling words, who desires life? Who desires life? Everyone gathered around him to buy from him, saying to him, give us life. He stated the following verse to him: who is the man that desires life and loves days, that he may see good in him? Keep his tongue from evil and your lips from speaking guile. Psalms 34, 13 and 14. Okay. Weiter. Sur merav yaseh toiv v'goyim Hashem yom ha'yinitzar t'lishoini mera u'sivatai midaber mirma elech v'egad igare v'shena tavelomar sur merav yaseh tov v'ein tov el ha'toira shenemar ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'zovu. The psalm continues: depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. Psalms 34:15. The Gemara explains, lest one say, I have kept my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking guile, I will therefore go and indulge in sleep. To counter this possibility, the verse states, depart from evil and do good. It's not enough to avoid evil, but one must actively do good. The word good means nothing other than Torah. As it is stated, for I have given you a good portion, my Torah, do not abandon it. Proverbs 4:2. Higia lekiba, makom shumamidin ba'avodah zarah. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, im bana schar mutar. Pshita mesham Avodah Zarah, Misham Avodah Zarah, Ben Rabbi Yishmael, Ben Rabbi Kiva, Einan Asurin Ad Sheyibdu. The Mishnah teaches one may build with Gentiles small platforms and bathhouses, but once he reaches the arched chamber in the bath where the Gentiles put up objects of idol worship, it is prohibited for Jews to continue building in it. Rabbi Elazar says that Rabbi Yochanan says if he did continue to build the arched chamber, his wages are permitted. The Gemara asks, isn't that obvious? After all, such arched chambers are only accessories of idol worship. With regard to accessories of idol worship, both according to Rabbi Yishmael and according to Rabbi Akiva, who disagree with regard to deriving benefit from an actual object of idol worship, 51b, deriving benefit from accessories of idol worship is not prohibited until they are worshipped. Amar Yehomi lo nitzracha el Avodah Zarah atzma hanichleman Avodah Zarah shel Yisrael asura miyad v'shel goy ad shetevid Shapir elaman de'amar shel goy asura miyad ma'ikle meimal. Rabbi Yehomi says Rabbi Elazar's statement is necessary only to permit the wages of a Jew who built an actual object of idol worship itself. The Gemara asks, this works out well according to the one who says that an object of idol worship of a Jew is forbidden immediately once it is built, but it is not prohibited to derive benefit from an object of idol worship of a Gentile until it is actually worshipped. In this case, the idol was built for a Gentile, and therefore the laborer may receive payment for his work, as the idol was never worshipped. But according to the one who says that an object of idol worship of a Gentile is also forbidden immediately, what can be said? Ela amar Rabba bar Ula, lo nitzrecha ela b'makosh acharon. Avodah Zarah man kagamna gamar malacha v'emas havya gamar malacha b'makosh acharon. Makosh acharon is be'shavapruta. Rather, Rabba Bar Ula says, Rabbi Elazar's statement that the worker's wages are permitted is necessary only with regard to the final stroke with which the laborer completes his work. In the case of an object of idol worship, what causes it to be used for idol worship? It is the completion of labor. And when is the completion of labor achieved? It is achieved with the final stroke of the laborer. The final stroke alone does not have the value of one pruta, and therefore the wages he receives are due when each act of labor is performed during the entire process, not when the final stroke completes the work. Evidently, Rabbi Elazar holds that the obligation to pay wages incurred continuously from the beginning of the period he was hired to its end, not merely upon completion of the work, since the worker has rights to his wages at every stage of labor performed during the entire period of work. The wages are not considered a benefit that he does and that he receives from idol worship, as the object is classified as an object of idol worship only at the very end. That's the end of that. New Mishnah. Eliezer Omer Besachar Mutar Ein Moichin Lahem Kimchubar Karka Aval Mocher Hu Ishi Katzetz Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mocher Hu Almanas Lakots. And Mishnah says that one may not fashion jewelry for an object of idol worship, and this applies to jewelry such as necklaces, nose rings, and rings. Rabbi Eliezer says if one fashions them in exchange for payment, it is permitted. The Mishnah returns to the issue of selling them to Gentiles. One may not sell to a Gentile any item that is attached to the ground, but one may sell such an item once it is severed from the ground. Yehuda says it is not necessary to sever the item from the ground. Rather, one may sell it on the condition that it be severed. And the Gemara says, Minahani, how do we know these things? From where is this matter derived? Amar Rav Yossi Barachina is that it is prohibited to sell a Gentile anything that is attached to the ground. How do we know this? Rav Yossi Barachina says